also being a doctor, if you don't address these foundational elements of your healing, you could be, duped into having surgeries and taking prescriptions your whole life and being a prisoner to an external source of healing. Whereas this system brings you back home, and it does so in a way that empowers you for the rest of your life. When I was 18 years old, I had a traumatic brain injury that I was skateboarding down a hill going about 40 miles per hour or so, and I fell back and I cracked my skull open and I bled in my brain in 6 different places. And it was such a traumatic brain injury that I lost my sense of smell and taste, I lost my short-term memory, and I had such a traumatic injury that it disconnected me from my ability to cry. And I went to a lot of therapy, I went to a lot of different healing circles. I got treated by all these different people, and my therapist eventually came to the conclusion that it's okay if you just never cry again. It's a normal thing for people that have had that significant of a trauma. So I had accepted from an outside limiting belief system that I was never going to be able to tap into that emotional expression in my life. And it felt like I was trapped between a glass ceiling and a glass floor of my emotional experience. Even though I had those emotions, my physical ability to express them and release them was just right outside of my reach. I decided to go to this retreat in Cancun. I signed up, and it was all very spur of the moment, very quick. I realized I got in, so it was really exciting. And by the time I made it to Cancun, I realized that I had not really set an intention as to why I was going down there. I knew that I was going to have an experience, but I didn't really have that directional arrow that I was going to be following for my energy to funnel into, if you will. And so as the beginning of the retreat happened, a lot of people were, obviously exchanging all their excited stories and what made you come here? Why are you here? And by the time it finally dawned on me, I was like, I'm here to open my heart. The first and second day, I was starting to get those, like the pre-cry shakes, but nothing was coming out, but it was a progress. It was something that hadn't really happened. So I was getting, there was already sort of a buildup happening. And it wasn't until the second walking meditation that we were outside, on this beautiful beach in Cancun, the sun's rising, there's 1,500 people all walking into their future selves. And I had this moment where I was walking and it was finally coming back to the concluding part of the walking meditation, and they told me to lay down. I laid down, and when I did that, there was this moment where everything stopped and I went into a different time and space. And there was this experience where I was sitting next to my dad, and I was in a totally different place, but it was clearly like in the future because I looked at my dad and he looked older. And I felt how much had happened, all the experience of my life and the reflection of where I was in that moment actually in time versus where I was then. And the amount of love that filled my heart was so unbelievably overwhelming that I just exploded into tears. And it was the most profound release. And it wasn't so much that I had built up all this stuff to release, it was that there was so much love inside of me that I couldn't contain that. And the only way it could express itself was through my heart opening and my tears flowing. And it was a moment like interstellar almost, whenever you're peering behind the actual structure of reality. And I actually looked up the Interstellar theme song and I just played it and I danced in the ocean. And everyone was gone by that point, and I was just dancing, crying as I was on this beach, fully with my heart open for the first time, what it felt like in my whole life. It was just this opening of energy in my life that felt like it brought me up from this power center driven area of my navel, my number 3, if you will, to my heart center. And I've been there ever since. And ever since then, the work that I do as a doctor, the work that I do coordinating healthcare projects with isolated tribes in the Amazon, everything has evolved and expanded in ways that I can't really put words to. It feels like everything that I'm putting out into the field is coming back at 10 times the speed. I ended up inviting my father here. So the person that catalyzed that love for my father, that brought it out originally, now he's here having his own experiences, and I can feel the effects of his life already taking fold because he's a doctor as well. So it's just compounding, and the love is just growing, and I feel it just viscerally every time I tap into my meditation. I do my breath, and it's become a twice a day ritual for me now. I'm so grateful, and I am very deeply inspired. I also, being a doctor and also being in the world of recognizing that if you don't address these foundational elements of your healing, you could be, duped into having surgeries and taking prescriptions your whole life and being a prisoner to an external source of healing. Whereas this system brings you back home, and it does so in a way that empowers you for the rest of your life. And there's no limitations to it. And that's why, the whole idea of being unlimited is so accurate, because you're only limited by your mindset, by your emotional state, by your energy, and all of those are malleable. So these are the tools to break free.